now that you understand about the fear traps, and now that you understand about the empowered birth system truths that help you to navigate and get what you want, and you've heard some positive birth stories already, so you know that this works, I'm going to go into the empowered birth system. If you already have my book, Your Empowered Birth, or you have my deeper dive training of Your Empowered Birth Academy, and this is just extra, or if you've been following me for a very long time and you know those 5 pillars like the back of your hand, you can skip over this training if you really want to and go into the next module where I teach you about the sources of fear and what you really need to focus on and how to get out of that. You can go to that part of the system. But if you're new to me, then you need to understand this empowered birth system and the 5 pillars of empowerment and how it all works, because this is part of your safety net. Remember how I talked about in the introduction, telling you that with the empowered birth system, if you're going to go towards your dream and you don't have a safety net, it's going to be scarier for you to walk that tightrope than if you actually had that safety net. The empowered birth system and the 5 pillars of empowerment is your safety net. This is how you're able to go forward and face your fears. This is how you're able to say no to your care provider. This is how you're able to go for your dream birth and then only pull back when you feel that it's actually necessary, and you don't get sucked in to the medical system when they say, well, it is medically necessary because such and such could happen. So with the empowered birth system, you can create your dream birth and have it any way you want. Even if you're high risk, even if you've had a traumatic birth before, even if other people tell you that you can't and what you want is impossible for your age or your size, whatever it is, you can create your dream birth and have it any way you want, and tune into your intuition. And when your intuition says, hey, we need to change something in the plan, then you change it. But otherwise, you don't get sucked into that fear trap. You don't get sucked into the fear trap of it's going to be super painful if I don't give in to this, or it's going to cause something to go wrong if I don't give in to what they keep pushing, or I'm going to have this medical intervention even worse if I don't agree to this lower level thing. Sometimes it's that cascade of interventions, trying to get yourself into labor before that medical induction, because you're trying to avoid the pain and you're trying to avoid that induction, like that intervention, and you're trying to do all the things, but you're actually stressing out your body and you're actually doing a self-fulfilling prophecy. I can't even tell you how many moms have tried to do all of the things, and I can see it. I can see how they're compromising. So this is your safety net. I want you to use it. Make sure you're also using the workbook and take notes. There is a little bit of the overview of the empowered birth system inside of the workbook itself. So make sure you're reading through that. That is your notebook. That is your thing that you're going to want to refer to, and you want to refer to your birth vision, because once you keep referring to your birth vision and you know what you need to do, you create your birth vision and then you run it through this system. So step 1 in the empowered birth system, the 5 pillars of empowerment, is needing to have the right mindset. You need to challenge the attitudes, behavior, beliefs that don't serve you anymore. They don't work for the kind of birth that you want. If you want to have a true natural birth, you can't have attitudes and behavior and belief that still are in the medical model. It's not going to work. You also need to acquire the new information that outweighs those old beliefs and fears. So it's not just getting the information, you've got to have enough of it that it outweighs the old beliefs. Otherwise, you're just at war with yourself. You also have to reduce the importance of those negative beliefs, attitudes, etc., so that when those negative fears come up and you're like, oh, right, that thing. Yeah, I remember that thing. But that thing is no longer as scary anymore. It's minuscule. You surround yourself with positive birth imagery and stories, but it's not just about stay positive at all costs. It's also recognizing there is another side of the coin. There are risks, but you have to reduce the importance of that because you're creating a safety net. Okay, so you're creating a safety net. Yes, you could fall, but your safety net will catch you. You're not going to have a catastrophic outcome because you've got your safety net and you know that those tools are out there. If you need them, you can take them. But if you don't need them, you don't need to use them. You need to see yourself as the decision maker. You're in charge, not them, not your medical system, not the doctor, not the hospital, not your doula, not even your partner. You make all the decisions. This is your baby. This is your body. This is your birth experience. You also need to believe that your dream is possible, even when everyone around you tells you that you can't do it. This is also why you want to build the right support. This is why you want to have a care provider that's not going to bully you. And this is also why you need to have that right education and a safe environment, because otherwise it's going to start to shatter your mindset and you're going to feel like a friend of mine said about her mindset. She's like, it feels like I have my shield up, but big boulders are being thrown at it. And I'm like, well, you need to be able to turn those boulders into bubbles. So if you keep seeing them as big boulders cracking your shield instead of recognizing you can patch your shield up with your dream, it's just going to keep getting harder and harder. And you're going to be like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going in the other direction. You don't want to do that. So with the right education, which is pillar number 2, you need to learn about your rights to informed consent and refusal. First of all, you need to know that inside and out, that when they say you're not allowed, they're actually not allowed to not allow you. First of all, birth is a physiological process. How the heck are they actually supposed to enforce that? They can't. They can't actually know that you just stayed home and baby came too fast, or you were just staying home the whole time. They don't know. So you have the right to informed consent and refusal. You need to also learn about all your options in birth, not just the menu options your care provider, family, friends, and social media have you believe is possible. You need to learn about your true birth physiology outside of the hospital setting. This is why I say you need to read Ina May's Guide to Childbirth. Reclaiming Childbirth as a Rite of Passage by Rachel Reed is another good one. And from Deborah Pascali Bonaro, Orgasmic Birth, with Elizabeth Davis as well. I would suggest reading that one, because then you're going to see that birth doesn't have to be painful. When you understand true birth physiology, then you also start to see why the medical system screws it up a lot of the time. Why our birth culture screws it up. Why the advice in the mom groups screws it up. Why so many people think that they had a natural birth, but they really didn't. They didn't have that true organic birth experience. And they're like, I had a natural birth, but it was super painful and I would never recommend it. And it's like, actually, you didn't have a true natural birth. You had a natural birth, which is the kind, it's like the difference between ice cream and frozen dessert. It's the difference between organic ice cream that you get from a dairy farmer, and you know where the cows that gave the milk and everything to be able to make that ice cream, and it's all natural ingredients, versus the stuff you get at the supermarket that's got all these preservatives in it and it says frozen dessert on the side. But people say, oh, it's ice cream. No, it's not. It says frozen dessert. So the other thing, of course, is if you're going to learn about true physiological birth, you need to seek birth classes outside of the mainstream hospital system, because the ones in the hospital system are designed to scare you into being a compliant, good patient. You don't want them. And you don't want birth classes taught by doulas that are like, stay out of the hospital at all costs and never go to the hospital because they're just going to hurt you and there's no way around it. No, there's a way around it. The empowered birth method is the way around it. So you can call in that medical help. And even if you get that pushback, you're not afraid. You want to read birth books written by midwives, doulas, and independent childbirth educators. As I said, I just talked about a few of them. When you read those kinds of books, you're going to get better information about birth physiology than if you go and read a typical book written by an MD and they say home birth is dangerous and all costs and you want to have an OB and blah, blah, blah. What if something goes wrong? And they basically gaslight you the whole time. They also tend to talk about labor stages, and you'll learn more in this program why that doesn't work either. Because labor stages, it's not what you think. So pillar number 3 is the right environment. So the right environment is one where you feel safest to let go of all your inhibitions. If you wouldn't have sex there, you probably wouldn't be able to birth there effectively either. And if you hate being watched, you need to choose a setting where you won't be disturbed. You're a mammal, and mammals don't give birth where they feel threat, either perceived or real. So the right environment can be in a hospital if that hospital can support physiological birth. If, however, the idea of going to the hospital stresses you out and you know that it's just going to be really hard for you to go back there, or you know that the hospital that you went to last time, it's like, it's going to traumatize me again, pick somewhere else to birth. Okay. Really, like, you don't want to go back there. If you can't find anywhere else to birth, stay home until the last possible minute. And, car birth isn't the worst thing in the world. It really isn't. And with the empowered birth method, even if you're not planning an unassisted birth, you're going to have the confidence that if something happened, you could actually have an unassisted birth, because birth is a physiological process. Your baby is going to come out, whether or not anybody gives you any medical intervention or not. They will either come out, or you'll notice that something's not right and you will go and get that help. But if you don't need that help, why bring it in? Why invite it in? You don't need to invite that in. Which leads to the right facilitators. You need to choose a care provider who supports your birth plan before you hire them. This is important. You do it before you hire them so that you can see them without their mask. Because a lot of people, they're like, oh, my OB or my midwife is really nice and they seem really knowledgeable. Yeah. And they're really, really super supportive as long as you're doing what they want you to do. The second you deviate, they can get quite abusive if they haven't checked their ego at the door, or they're a certain kind of person who is in that profession because they get a lot of prestige and they're in it for the money and they actually don't care, and they'll do everything at all costs to teach you a lesson, because those people do exist. I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying that to give you that safety net so you understand that you got to have that safety net in place. You got to know, I got to be calm and resourced enough to deal with those people, because they exist. And if you wait until the end of your pregnancy, it's harder, because you don't want to be in anxiety and fear at the end of your pregnancy. That can derail your birth plan. That can also lead to you not being able to go into labor right away, because your body is now activated and you're stressed out. All midwives are not created equal. You need to do your homework and interview them to spot any potential red flags. I will be talking about red flags deeper into this program when we talk about care providers. You need to choose a childbirth educator who teaches the kind of birth that you want to have. Many just teach standard hospital birth with interventions, and as a result, many times you end up with interventions in your birth. You need to choose a doula based on how you need to be supported. So if you're choosing a doula who's like, they've got a lot of spinning babies and they're very hands-on, but you're someone who doesn't like to be watched and you want to just do your own thing and tune into your own instincts, that's not the right match. Now, she may have a lot of success stories of moms who were able to have amazing, beautiful birth experiences, but the way that she supports you is not the way that you actually need. And because of that, it's just not a right fit. Doesn't mean the doula is bad. It doesn't mean the doula doesn't know her stuff. It's just not right. And even when I have clients and I do some doula services for them, it's the same thing. I'm checking to see, am I the right fit for you? If I'm not, I'm going to lovingly send you on your way, because I can't help you in the way that you need that support. And I'm not going to just be like, oh, I'm going to take you on as a client just so that I get paid. No, you want a doula who's not hungry for clients, but someone who truly wants to support you and believes in you. And if you want to know more about questions to ask before you hire a doula, make sure you go check out my book, Your Empowered Birth, and get the extras off of my website so that you can get that guide that tells you how to hire your doula. Or you can just send me a message, carly@empoweringmomsbirth.com, or go to empoweringmomsbirth.com/extras and grab it there. Pillar number 5 is my absolute favorite. And the reason for that is because the right support is really how it ties everything together. I have noticed that when the partner is supportive, even when mom is starting to get in her fear, even when she's realizing that like she can't go on much longer, when her partner is supportive and pushing her forward, she is more likely to be able to pull through that than when she doesn't have that support. When her partner's like, "Oh, yeah, babe, you sound like you're in a lot of pain. Let's go get the epidural. You tried your best." No, you need the person who also believes in your dream. And this is what I do with my clients is I train up the partner to be that support. Because when you have that right support, you need to understand something is that the people closest to you influence your birth in positive and negative ways. So you need to really evaluate whether they're supportive of your birth plan or if you have to keep trying to convince them that you can do it. And the other thing you need to know is that you deserve to have people who believe that you can do it. Anyone who's trying to scare you into accepting something that you don't want will not be the right support. So, your partner, if you have one, needs to be on the same page and they need to recognize that you are the expert in your birth. And I cannot stress this enough, stay out of the mommy shaming groups. Seriously, if you are in a birth community and you are asking the question, "Hey, I'd like to know if I can decline this test," and every single answer is shaming, blaming, making you wrong, telling you why you are wrong for wanting that, telling you you're selfish, telling you all the catastrophes that could happen, you want to stay out of that because there's no support there. If, however, there's a mix and there's the people that are like saying those things, but the majority are supportive and giving you resources, that is a good environment and good support. You want to build more people in your environment and in your community who are going to support you. And that's why I have the Empowered Birth community, because that is the hub where everybody gets to support each other. And this is also why, as a coach, I am like the way I am is that I only take a certain number of clients at a time. And I also have messenger support. So they're able to send me messages through text and email. And we also meet once a week so that they can continue to feel resourced and able to stand up in their power. And I also train up the partner at the same time so that when I'm not there, the partner can take over. Because even if you've hired a doula, your doula is not going to be there the whole time. Your doula has their family to take care of. They may not be able to be with you your entire labor. You need your partner's support. You need it. And I teach this deeper inside of my other program, Your Empowered Birth Academy, where I have more skills that I teach at a deeper level. But this overview of Your Empowered Birth workshop, this is basically the framework. If you don't have this framework, then you can't do the stuff that's in Your Empowered Birth Academy because it goes too deep. If you haven't been following me for very long, then you wouldn't know all of the little pieces. I want to make sure you have all of the pieces. So if you did get this in addition to Your Empowered Birth Academy, I just want to remind you that there is that module training on getting your partner on board, and we go much deeper. So if you have started with the Empowered Birth Workshop, like I asked you to do first, and then you go on to Your Empowered Birth Academy, then you're going to have more resources. But if you only got this training, then I'm just going to remind you that you can go deeper with this. And I'll tell you more about that later. One more thing before we take our break is that you can also go deeper with Your Empowered Birth. You can go onto Amazon and get it. Or if you just want to learn more about it first, you can go to empoweringmomsbirth.com/book. There's also questions inside of this book on getting the birth you want the first time and how to heal and get the birth you want the second time that asks you about what you need for that right support. So there's more journal prompts. Make sure you're also going through your workbook because your workbook is really going to help get you the idea of what you need. If you have any questions, reach out to me, Carly at empoweringmomsbirth.com, and send me a DM if you want. send me messages. Like, I will give you more contact information with this program. I am committed to you having an empowered birth. My empowered birth ambassadors are here to help you. Everyone who has gone through the empowered birth system and understands it wants you to have this. So if for any reason you have a question or something's not clear to you, please reach out, because I want you to have this. I want you to have the best possible experience. Birth trauma sucks, and I'm done with it. I don't want that for you. So if you do have any questions or you do want to go deeper, I'm going to invite you to invest in yourself, invest that time or invest that extra little bit of money to do that for yourself. Because again, this is for you. This is something for you. This isn't just about your baby. This is about you. And you know what? You matter. And I want you to have that. You deserve it. You don't deserve to have birth trauma. You don't deserve to feel like you have no options. So I will see you in the next part of this training.